Welcome back. How much waffling are we going to get today? Let's find out. I saw a ceiling I was familiar with. Though I was groggy from sleep, I did notice that I was in my futon like I was every morning. I looked at my clock, and despite having turned in so late last night, I had awoken at precisely the same moment I always did. I sadly know that feeling. I'm so low on sleep. I also know that feeling, but I guess you really can get up at the same time every day. The secrets of the human body never cease to amaze me. If I went back to sleep like this, I would definitely not be waking up again. The dream. I spurred myself on and slipped out of my futon. Mum asked me about last night at breakfast. Apparently, we too had gotten a call asking if we knew where Rika-chan and Satoko were, and Mum vaguely understood that something serious was happening. So then, you were out late last night with all your friends looking for them? Until about 3, I think. Yeah. Did you find them? Rika-chan and Satoko-chan, I mean. Crunch. I wearily bit into my toast. It really didn't have any taste. Maybe put some butter on it. Just then, we heard the chime go ding-dong. I looked up at the clock and saw that it was about 5 minutes past my regular meeting time with Lena. It was her at the door. Good morning. Did you get any sleep, did you? I think I slept for a few hours. You could probably count them on a chicken's toes, though. Huh. Indeed. Ah ha 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 ha. Lena seemed pretty sleep-deprived as well. I know that feeling. There was something missing from her usual spirit. Are you going to school? Yeah. I think it would be better that way, she said, smiling, albeit stiffly. Lena was probably worrying her heart out about those two as well. Even so, she wanted to go to school. I mean, what are you going to do otherwise? If you stay home today, I think you'd just be worrying non-stop and sleeping. Exactly. I don't want that. So let's go to school together. Alright. Wait just a moment. I'll get ready. I was just a little bit happy about Lena mustering that much consideration for me. We went to the place where we'd usually meet up with Mion, but she was nowhere to be found. We were a little bit late today, so we thought she'd be waiting for us. I guess Mi-chan couldn't wake up today, huh? Ah, that's right. For her, it wasn't just yesterday. She was up all night looking for the mare the night before last, too. We waited for a bit. Time passed until it got to the point where it was okay for us to go on alone, and we exchanged glances. What do? Wait a little longer? At that point, my brain, which had finally been woken up by the morning air, recalled the ominous words Oishi-san had left me with last night. The leaders of the 3 families were disappearing one after the other. And next, it might be the Sonozaki's leader. Could Mion have? No, that couldn't be. Let's go. Let's let her sleep for today. Lena gave me a pat on the back. Mion, she's still here, right? Did you say something? Oh, nothing. Just talking to myself. Let's get moving. The 2 of us headed to school by ourselves. On the way, we saw a bunch of our classmates accompanied by their parents. It even looked like some of them were being taken to school by car. Surprisingly, the principal was also standing watch at the school gate. I'd never seen that before. Good morning. Good morning. The principal was bowing to our classmates' guardians. The wooden sword leaning next to him was a little ominous. Maebara-kun, good morning. Ryugu-kun, good morning. Good morning. Your teacher has something important to say, so head straight to the classroom. Alright? Lena and I said nothing. The madness that only existed at night had finally crawled out into the sunlight. That's what it felt like. Good morning, everyone. The hushed conversations that had been spreading for a while now all disappeared like an illusion the moment our teacher walked in the door. Silence dominated the classroom. The principal came in with our teacher as well. This was clearly not a normal morning. First, the principal has something important to tell everyone. Go ahead, Mr. Principal. Mr. Principal. The principal cleared his throat and approached the dais. Wait, how do I pronounce that? Die? I'm sure some of you already know this. The classroom was dead silent. Everyone was staring at Rika-chan and Satoko's empty seats. The principal briefly and simply declared that Rika-chan and Satoko had gone missing. There wasn't a single person in the classroom who didn't already know. There seemed to be many, however, who couldn't accept it as the truth. It had been confirmed to them now by the principal's words. There were sobs throughout the classroom, and I heard a kid crying. They steadily spread throughout the whole room. The big-hearted principal wasn't able to keep his cool either. Okay, everyone, pay attention. From today on, your parents or guardians will be taking you to school. For those of you whose parents can't do so, you'll be coming here in groups. I made a handout, so read it carefully and be sure to show it to your parents. Understand? The teacher's voice was a little abrasive. Not even she could conceal the strain she felt from this unprecedented, abnormal situation. They should have just cancelled school today. However, Lena told me that the school was also like a nursery for the students whose parents both worked, so some of them wouldn't want school to be cancelled. Well then, let's begin the lesson. Class president. She's absent, I see. Then, whoever is on day duty, let me hear it. All rise. Gidits. That feeling of wanting to maintain an everyday atmosphere, even if only in school, precisely because our lives had been messed up, was something that I agreed with at this point. As for the teacher, who always had her lunch in the staff lounge, she ate in the classroom today. I had to laugh at her curry bento, which was just a rumor until now, but there was nobody to laugh with me. Then I brought her chair and lunch over to my seat. Today, it was only the two of us. The fact that we didn't need to drag any other desks over was sad. I'm sleepy. Same. Yeah, I don't feel like sleeping anymore though. In fact, I'm jealous of the people that could sleep at a time like this. They've got nerves of steel. Ahahaha, you're right. I was sleepy this morning, but my drowsiness had dissipated after coming to school and constantly feeling the incredible tension. Lena's bento box didn't have its usual luster. That was to be expected. Lena was up for a long time last night too. She wouldn't have had time to make her lunch beforehand, since it's not like she would have gotten up early this morning. Grab anything you want. Go ahead. You can admit that my bento is better today. Okay, then I'll have some. Wow, a chikuwa roll with perilla and cheese. That's interesting. Interesting. Then yours might have ready-made food in it, but it's pretty good too. I realized the two of us were desperately trying to brighten the afternoon mood to its usual level as much as we could. I looked around the classroom, and it seemed like we were the only ones trying to do so, surrounded as we were by gloominess. Ooh-hoo-hoo. Just the two of us sharing our lunches like this, it's sort of like something. How? Indeed. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Our laughter grew quieter. I was the first one to mess up. Sorry. I'm sorry. No, it's okay. Oh my whole desk is shaking. I don't know why, but you can probably hear that through the microphone. It's not your fault. There must have been a giant truck outside. Our chopsticks both stopped moving. We couldn't keep it up anymore. Rika-chan, Satoko, I wonder where they went. Those words might have sounded too miserable. Everyone was thinking it, using roundabout ways to address the topic, but I came right out and said it. I heard Lena catch her breath. My microphone keeps jiggling and juggling, and I can see it on the recording. What is going on? Yesterday, while you were gone, I heard a bunch of things, so let me tell you what I know, okay? Okay, whatever that was finally seems to have stopped. Let's continue. Sorry again about last night. Go ahead. At that time, since they had arrived for support, Lena was helping the Ladies' Society cook the miso soup we'd had. They reported all the information the villagers had gathered and Lena said she overheard it. They didn't know anything important though, did they? Rika-chan and Satoko went home after school, and then apparently went somewhere on their bikes, but other than that... Mion had told me yesterday. We had no clues. Yeah. The police also said that they probably went out on their bikes to go play somewhere as soon as they got home. If they were going out to play somewhere on their bikes right after getting home, then they might have gone into town. So I guess they concluded they disappeared while in Okinomiya. The police were saying how they were going to expand their search to Okinomiya in the morning. In town. It makes sense why we couldn't find them even though we searched all of Hinamizawa then. Still, something didn't fit. I had no basis for thinking that, just a gut feeling. I revealed something to Rika-chan that was likely very important to her that day. Then, Rika-chan had told me to leave it to her. And then, what did she say? Oh right, if she didn't work hard, then something bad might happen to the dog too, I think. With all the talk of dogs and cats, I still didn't have the faintest idea what she really meant, but it might have been Rika-chan's way of saying this was a race against time. Damn it. I'd selfishly pushed my anxiety on Rika-chan and tried to run away. When I thought about it, I shouldn't have run back then. I should have asked her more about the dogs and cats. The more I think back on it, I really screwed up. Anyway, I don't think Rika-chan was in a situation where she would just go off to play somewhere. Of course, I didn't have any evidence or conviction to base that on. It was just a hunch. I don't think she'd go into town. You think so too, Keiichi-kun? I agree. Rika-chan and Satoko-chan must have disappeared in Hinamizawa. I looked back at Lena, startled. I could hear the conviction in those words. Without replying to my gaze, she took her bento box and went to the hallway. I'm going to go rinse this out. She timed that in a way that broke off the conversation. Suddenly, I got the feeling that the next thing she had to say would be hard to say aloud in the classroom. I hurriedly grabbed my bento box and followed her. Lena didn't go to the kitchenette, but rather to the water fountains out back where students seldom went. The water flowed down into our bento boxes. During that time, Lena didn't say a word. Then, after making sure there were no other students around, she finally opened her mouth to speak. The whole thing about Rika-chan and Satoko-chan going to town to play and then disappearing, that didn't make sense for some reason, so I decided to investigate a little bit myself. Who did you ask? What did you ask them about? I asked the Ladies' Society all kinds of things. There was a lot of tofu in the miso soup yesterday, remember? The old lady from the Tomita tofu shop came too. The Tomita tofu shop. Oh, I remember. That was one of the stores on the road leading to the hospital. Those huge lumps of tofu dancing in the bathtub-like cistern always looked nice and refreshing. That's a sentence. The old lady says she remembers Satoko-chan stopping to buy tofu there on her way home from school. Tofu? Well, it's on the way home, right? How is that a clue? Just listen. Do you remember when we went to Rika-chan's house? Lena stepped away from the sinks and spread her arms wide to recreate the space of Rika-chan's room. Sure. There was a pot on her gas cooker, and there was miso soup in it. I think there was probably about half of it inside. The rest was in the refrigerator. They must have been planning to make chilled tofu. It was on a plate in plastic wrap. As Lena explained, she walked around as if she was really going through Rika-chan's room. Still, Lena, why does this matter? Keiichi-kun, when you make miso soup, you put the tofu in last. that means that Rika-chan or Satoko-chan, whoever was cooking, was standing there making it up until right before dinner time. Right up until dinner time? Nani? Wasn't everyone saying that their bikes weren't around, so they must have gone somewhere to play by themselves? The trash in the countertop bin was put in there really awkwardly too. Rika-chan makes most of their food and lunches, but occasionally Satoko-chan does it too. So Satoko-chan was cooking that night. So that means that Satoko at least didn't go somewhere to play. She was preparing dinner. Yeah. Then I took a look at the rice cooker and there was rice for two still in there. So she made dinner for both of them, but neither of them ate it. Is that it? Lena nodded. So next I looked in the fridge. There was some chilled tofu made from the other half that they bought. That's not all either. There were a whole bunch of plates with side dishes for dinner, and all of them were in plastic wrap. You usually plastic wrap things so that you can have leftovers for the next day. My mum does that all the time too, using them in breakfast or lunch. That's right. You use plastic wrap to save leftovers for later. So the fact that they were in the fridge means that they didn't plan on eating them that night, at least. Is that what it means? Keiichi-kun, think a little harder. Their dinner was totally untouched and wrapped up. What do you think that means? Come on now, you're asking him to push his two brain cells together. Well, that means they didn't need to eat dinner anymore. So they would have gone out to eat or ordered takeout. It must have been really sudden too. If they had decided to do that beforehand, they wouldn't have made anything. But there was dinner for the two of them. That means that when Satoko-chan was making their dinner, they really thought they were going to eat it until right before they didn't. So then, the theory about the two of them going out to play and then disappearing is wrong. Yep, they disappeared after making dinner and right before they ate it. Probably around 7 o'clock. Where would they have gone at a time like that by themselves without eating? That's obviously where this is leading. Keiichi-kun, do you remember? On their fold-out table, there were things like soy sauce and a chopstick holder. There might have been something like that. I didn't remember. The container for the soy sauce, it was empty. There wasn't even a drop left. Chilled tofu wouldn't taste good without it. That is very correct. So I looked under their sink for the larger bottle of soy sauce they have. You sure know a lot about where they keep stuff. I've been to Rika-chan's house and cooked for them before. Lena cleared her throat, her face returning to a serious expression. Then, when I opened the cabinet, the big bottle of soy sauce wasn't there at all. It wasn't there. What does that mean? Everything I'm going to say from here on is just Lena's idea. So please listen until the end without saying anything. Alright, hit me, Lena. What's going on? Last night, Satoko was making dinner like normal. Rika-chan usually watched TV until the food was ready, so she was probably lying down watching a variety show or something. Makes sense. Satoko put the tofu in the miso soup, and right when dinner was about to be ready, she noticed that they were out of soy sauce. Truly horrifying. So, Rika-chan, who had nothing to do, brought the big bottle of soy sauce to a neighbor's house to borrow theirs. Makes sense. I don't really know my neighbors that well. Would people be willing to just give her soy sauce? Of course they would. Yeah, it's not all that uncommon in Hinamizawa. So, Rika-chan rode her bike out to get some soy sauce. No matter how long Satoko-chan waited though, Rika-chan didn't come back. So then, Satoko-chan called up the house where Rika-chan was going. Would Rika happen to be imposing on you? Something like that. Them, the other person. There are so many typos in this. Must have replied with something like this. We have plenty of food here, so you should come too, Satoko-chan. Rika-chan has already eaten. I think that's how they called her out there. Satoko called Rika a few names in private and wrapped up the dinner she had made for them. She put them in the fridge so she could use it for breakfast and lunch the next day. Waste not, want not. Then Satoko got on her bike too, and headed for the house where Rika-chan was. Okay, but this is already pretty strange. You don't normally make so much food that you can give it to people who suddenly arrived at your house. A veteran housewife would never normally make so much food that she could feed 2 extra people. She's not making it right then. Could it have just been a coincidence that they made too much? It's still unthinkable. Lena flatly denied me. Since Rika-chan knew that Satoko-chan had worked really hard to make dinner for them, didn't she? No matter what kind of food she was offered, she wouldn't let Satoko-chan's dinner go to waste. This was all only circumstantial evidence and Lena's guesswork. Even so, it was all extremely convincing. It was the only ray of hope we had to topple this situation bereft of clues. Then, Lena, where did Rika-chan go? To get soy sauce. That was the heart of it. It all comes down to the soy sauce. It would have been somewhere she'd be comfortable with asking for soy sauce, and somewhere Satoko wouldn't think it suspicious that she'd been invited for dinner. So, who was it? Lena slowly shook her head. It's the Sonozakis. That's all for Lena's guesses. These are all just ideas, okay? Keep them a secret from the police. What is there to hide? Even if only half of what you said is right, it should be a good clue for all this. Keiichi-kun, this all means suspecting someone from Hinamizawa. We can't suspect anyone without a really good reason. I saw a few girls coming over to rinse out their bento boxes. Lena cut the conversation short there and returned to the classroom. I stayed there alone, my body bathed in the lively voices of the cicadas. This novel constantly flipping between cicadas and Higurashi is amazing. It's whatever word I feel like using at the time. Let's think about this. In my own way. Alright guys, time to rub our 2 brain cells together. Lena had barely any information to go on, and yet she'd reasoned out that much. So there should be something that only I, who knew far more than Lena did, could deduce. The juice. Oishi-san said this last night too, but this incident was definitely occurring within Hinamizawa. Lena might not have wanted to believe it, but it's basically a given that the culprit is someone from the village. The trigger for everything was when the 4 of us trespassed in the Forbidden Storehouse. Here it is. Here's the waffling. I thought we were doing so well. Now we have to recap everything we've done 20 times already. Someone saw us going in. For the culprits, breaking the taboo was a crime punishable by death. So, that night, Tomitake-san and Takano-san were sacrificed. There were 2 left. Shion and myself. However, before the culprits bore their fangs on Shion and me, they went after the mayor, to whom Shion had confessed her sin. Next, they went for Rika-chan, to whom I'd confessed my sin. Then what about Satoko? Just a stray bullet? By itself, Rika-chan being sacrificed after I told her everything was mortifying. But Satoko, who was sacrificed for no reason, wasn't that all the more regrettable? Everything was my fault. Who would be the next to disappear? Would it be Shion and me next time? Why? Why weren't the culprits going for Shion and me right away though? If they had enough power to erase the mayor and Rika-chan, then why not just get rid of Shion and me? If they went for us, well, I wouldn't like it, but I could still tolerate it. It is such a strange thing to say. What I couldn't forgive was them getting rid of those we'd confessed to. Now that I think of it, Yesterday, Shion said something alarming. She felt like someone was watching her. So then, was someone watching me as well? Strangely though, I hadn't felt anything like that until now. Even though I'm the root cause of everything, I had never once had that impression. Maybe that was simply because Shion was more cautious than me, and I was just careless. That's another story though. Let's get back on track. Why weren't the culprits going after Shion and me? Take a shot every time he says Shion and me. I felt like that's where the key to this lay. Could it be? Was I making a big assumption that I shouldn't have been? I thought and thought but couldn't come up with an answer. The one thing I understood was that I was a concerned party to this case, no shit, and that I had a duty to watch over it until everything got resolved. I heard the ring of the bell declaring the end of lunch break. Would somebody else disappear tonight? If nobody else did, then I wanted them to get rid of me tonight for sure. And then put an end to all of this. Shion's hysterical voice on the phone last night came back to mind. They planned to murder those close to us first, make us as miserable as possible, and only then would they kill us. Mayabara-kun, lunch break is over. Go back to the classroom. At the principal's urging, I returned to the classroom, which was quiet as the streets at night. That's a strange metaphor, but okay. There were a lot of parents picking up their children after school. It was just like a kindergarten. The students whose parents didn't come went home as a group. We left school with everyone else following the assigned route. Even while leaving, no one said anything funny. They all looked like exhausted mountaineers silently marching through the mountains. As we went, one left, and then another, and in the end it was just Lena and me. I was supposed to escort Lena all the way to her house, but she declined. Will you be alright? It's not safe to go alone. Take this. It would be just as dangerous for you to go home by yourself after bringing me back, Keiichi-kun. It's still light out anyway. I'll be fine. I see. Then be careful, okay? Yeah. Huh? Isn't that a policeman? Lena pointed towards my house. There was a car stopped in front of it. From out of that car came Oishi-san. He must have been waiting for my return to ambush me. Oishi-san started walking over wearing that annoying grin. Lena, you should go. If you get involved with him, you'll be here for hours. But what do the police want with you? With you? Lena's a good person. Even when I made a fuss over Rika-chan's disappearance, she never asked me why I did. She could have been suspecting me ever since then, and that would have been okay. Even so, she still hadn't asked me anything. She didn't try and pressure me into revealing the truth. I'm not the culprit. I know that. That said, I can't say that I'm totally uninvolved with this incident. Lena simply listened, smiling like she always did. Even though I had insinuated I was related to the incident, she didn't look at me as though she were looking at something dirty. I'll tell you next time. Okay, I'm looking forward to it. Get going then. Lena gave me a slight bow and trotted away, leaving me alone with Oishi-san, who walked over. Alright, we're going to end this episode here. There was decidedly less waffling than I was expecting, which is always nice. The story is moving along, always good. I feel like we're getting somewhat close to the ending. It can't be too far away now. Everything's about to unravel all at once and we'll get all the bombshells. So, come back next week and let's find out what's going on. I'll see you guys then. See ya.